right, so as you can see, I have Elouise here, who is the subject of this story, The Epic Adventures of Micah and Elouise. So what I've become accustomed to is starting every conversation and every talk with an appreciation conversation. And it gives me a moment to get grounded as well, because there is a lot of chaos in my world at the moment, a lot of chaos. So I want to take a moment first and appreciate Tina for that seed. I really feel like it really kind of captures what I wanted to say in that opening song. So the opening song was "Can You Picture That?" From the Muppet movie, which was produced in 1979. It was the first movie I've ever seen in the theaters with my father. So it was a message that always stuck with me my entire life. That there ain't nothing out there you can't do. Even Santa Claus believes in you. So it's kind of flips things on its head there, where it's just like, your imagination, what you imagine, becomes your reality based on your emotional commitment to it. So so even though I didn't completely understand it at 4 years old when I saw that movie, it was a message that I carried with me. And now Eloise likes the Muppet Babies now, right? Yep. Yeah. So Tina, thank you for that seed, because the answers are within, and that's if there's any takeaway from today's talk, I hope that is what gets amplified. And Melissa, thank you so much for introducing me, and thank you so much for being a minister and being a reverend and being here for your first your first facilitation. So this is an honor. This is a complete honor. Yes, please, let's give her a hand. Let's give her a hand. Yes. So yeah, what is amazing to me is that I did the seed for Nicole's when she facilitated a few weeks ago, and now I'm speaking for your first facilitation here as well. So there's so many firsts here, and I'm in just awe and in appreciation of you and of your ministry and everything that you're putting out in the world. And you are very, very welcome. And I also want to appreciate Ken Kaplan. I came to Ken about maybe 2 months ago, and asked him if I could do a talk on Father's Day. And the reason why I asked that was because both my mother and my father now are dealing with some really serious medical complications. And it dawned on me that my grandfather died when I was 8 years old. It was in 1984. He was 59. I was 8. And I always, when I first became a father, I always asked God the question. I always asked God, please give my son more time with his grandfather than I got with mine. So Ken, thank you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to create something that I can share with my kids when they get older. So yeah, so that's what I'm bringing today, is just this this intention, to honor my journey with my kids, to honor fatherhood, to honor parents, and to honor the journey we're all taking together. And because nobody ever does this alone. We're all in this together, and the relationship between parents and children sometimes goes unsung. And that's something that I'm practicing today, is reverence, not only for my kids, but also for my parents and my ancestors, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So I'm going to start today's talk with a desire, and the desire was to be a father. You have to go potty. Okay, go ahead. You can go potty. And then when you come back, we'll sit down over here. I've wanted to be a father my entire life. And when my wife and I got married in 2013, we tried to have kids right away. And it wasn't happening. We tried for 4 years and put ourselves in debt. And finally, in 2016, I remember this day because it was a rainy day, And it was the day after the election in 2016. We drove to the hospital, and oh my goodness, were people angry that day. And we got to the hospital to do our first ultrasound. And there was the little boy. There was the little boy, and his heart was beating. We listened to his heartbeat for the first time. We didn't know it was a boy yet. So fast forward to April. It was April 2017, and we went in for another ultrasound. And we were expecting this to be the happiest day of our lives, and we wanted to, of course, we wanted to report that we have a healthy, happy baby, and we were going to find out what the gender was. And something sad happened. The doctors thought our child was missing a part of his brain, part of his vermis. So what turned out to be, what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of our lives, turned into one of the scariest. And that was when I really had to do a gut check and, really kind of tune into the spirit of my son. And we were consulted, and we were asked to consider maybe terminating the pregnancy. And through lots of tears, I felt my son, as a grown man, connect to me and say, "Daddy, I'm great. I'm more than great. This is just so that you will appreciate me in my life more, when I am here." So we decided to push on. We were hoping for a natural, easy birth. It didn't happen. My wife was in labor for 5 days. She's a stubborn woman, and I hope she's watching this. I don't think she's watching it right now, but I'm sure she'll watch the recording. She's a stubborn woman. I'm talking about mommy. She wanted to have a natural birth more than anything, and she told the doctors, "No, I'm going to do this naturally," even though she was told, "No, we have to deliver early." There's something called an elevated flow, which was cutting off some of the nutrients in the blood to Micah, and it was recommended she have a C-section right away. She says, "Nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this naturally." Well, as I'm in and out of the hospital, I'm doing the numerology and the astrology for this kid. And I'm looking at I think it was on day 2, I'm sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts and looking at the days of the week and what it's going to mean for him, what his moon sign is going to be. If he's born at this time, what is his ascendant going to be? And I'm like, wait a minute. If this kid's born on Saturday, and this was on a Tuesday, he's going to have my exact numerology makeup. He's going to be a 33 soul number. He's going to be a 33 destiny. He's going to be an 11 for his, for his public image and all of that. I'm like, probably going to be born Saturday. And sure enough, about 4 days after that, Laura finally agreed. You know what? We got to do this. We tried all night Friday, and he got stuck. His head got stuck in the pelvic bone. So we had to, do an epidural and then do the C-section the next day. And we were both exhausted. We were both exhausted, but Micah was in the world, and he was checked out by the doctor and appeared, according to the doctor, appeared completely normal, healthy, a little on the small side. But this was my son. And what I wanted to do at that time, I had read something about for new fathers and for new parents that a real cool gift that you could give your kids was open up an email account and start writing to them, journaling to them. And when they turn 18, give them a password. They can read all of those emails. So with the spirit of that in mind, because it was really difficult for me to discipline myself to do that. I started doing these, what I call daddy journals, where I'm writing about my conversations with my kids. And that is what is the beginning of this, the epic adventures of Micah and Elouise. So I'm going to read a story.
I did.
That's right. So I'm going to talk about your birth here in a moment, but I'm going to read the first story here about the spiritual conversations I have with Micah. And one of the things that was very important to me, especially as a ministry candidate, focused on interspirituality. Can you also hear me right now? Give me a thumbs up on Zoom, Lan, if you can hear me. Good. Okay, great. So I'll point this over here. I wanted to really normalize having conversations about the spirit, about energies, about about some of the things that most people don't talk about, especially death, especially some dark energies and light energies. So these are all things that I wanted to normalize in my kids' life as they're kind of forming their outlook on the world. So this was the first entry that I put on. I wrote for my conversations with Micah, which is everything is magic. So Micah loves role playing. So he dresses up in costumes. He is convinced that he can perform magic like in the movies, as he sees in Harry Potter or with Jedis or in Star Wars or Doctor Strange. One day he asked me, "Magic is hard to do. Is it even real?" I immediately responded, "Micah, of course it's real. Everything is energy, and that in and of itself is magic. You can't perform magic so much as you already are magic. So everything is magic. Your life is magic." And I wanted to tell him there just how much of a miracle he was in our lives. Micah asked, "I don't get it. How can everything be magic?" Well, people who practice music can do magic. People who tell stories perform magic. Scientists observe magic so that they can better practice it. Artists are magicians. Whenever you draw a picture, you are creating something from nothing. Magic is just a way of creating something from nothing, making potential energy into kinetic energy. And then we had to talk about what that was, potential energy and kinetic energy, at 6 years old at the time. So Micah said, "I am already magic. Why can't I move things with my mind yet?" Well, Micah, you move things with your mind all the time. Every time you do a math problem, every time you write out a word, every time you try to do a push-up, every time you tell someone "I love you." The movies where characters move things with their minds or with a wand, what that really is just a result of many artists using CGI to create the illusions of these things. But the real magic is in doing the work to understand art and science so that you might discern what is real to you and what is not real, what is an illusion. Micah asked, "So moving things with my mind, like in the movies, is not real?" Micah, I wouldn't say that. There are just different scientific laws in the real world. The movies work like dreams. Can you move things with your mind in your dreams? I think so, Micah said. How do I do that in my dreams? First, you have to remember them. And the better you get at remembering them, it'll help you better sense when you are actually dreaming. And once you know you are dreaming, then you can explore controlling that dream. But I will say that after you get used to moving things with your mind, it kind of gets boring after a while. Then, after you get bored of doing stuff like that, you can explore your real powers. What are my real powers, Daddy? Micah, only you can know that. But I can't wait for you to tell me what you learn about your real powers. So this was the first of many philosophical conversations between me and my son. And that was when he started lucid dreaming regularly. So that was the first story about Micah. And then after Micah was born in 2017, almost on Father's Day, it was the day before Father's Day that Micah was born. 4.5 years later, in November, Elouise came into our life. And what is really interesting, because I'm, I pay attention to astrology, and I'm really looking at the archetypes and the symbols. And what was interesting to me was my Mars, which is kind of like the masculine energy, was in Gemini, and it ended up predicting what my son's sun sign would be. He's a Gemini, and my Venus was in Scorpio. So guess who's a little Miss Scorpio here? That's right. Elouise is our little Scorpio. So it was interesting. I'm starting to look at the patterns about how my makeup kind of predicted, what my kids might be like. So what was interesting as well too was that in my personal 2-year, which is about balance and cooperation, and really trying to find the balance between my needs and someone else's. Micah was born in June, the 6th month, and that makes up an 8. So it was an 8-month for me, which represents fatherhood, which represents kind of like the authority type figures. Just like that, Elouise comes along on November 19th. She was born in one of my 6 years, which is about family. 6, if you look at the 6, it looks like it has like a belly. I think of it as the belly of the whale, or the pregnant mother who's going through labor pains to give birth. And it happens in November, which reduces to a 2, which is also in an 8-month fatherhood. And both of my kids have their sun signs in the 10th house, which represents fatherhood. So something's trying to tell me here that being a father is important to me. Yeah. And then Elouise comes along, and this time we were doing things differently. We had it all planned. We had the morning planned out, even down to the time, about within the hour when she was born. What month you were born in? Yeah, what month were you born in? Oh, that's the year. Yeah, she was born in 2021. Very good. You know what? When I read your story, I'm going to give you some lines. All right. Okay, that's the drama teacher in me coming out. Yes. So so we had it all planned out, and I had it down to the hour as to what time she was going to be born in. So I knew probably what was going to be her ascendant. I probably knew all of the houses that was going to make up her life story. But then something happened. We had to get pushed back a couple of hours because there was a family that needed immediate need for giving birth. So it's like, oh, okay, then I'm going to start reconfiguring all of this. So we waited 2 hours, and it was the complete opposite experience as when Micah was born, where we were on pins and needles all week. This was just like, okay, we know we have to go in for a C-section. We know we can't do it the way we wanted to. So this was the exact opposite. So we waited two more hours, and Elouise was born. And I'm like, oh my goodness, here's my daughter, oh my goodness, I still have to cut the umbilical cord. And then the first question I asked, what time is it? So that I could get it down for some sleep to that. And then I said, okay, thank you, making a mental note, cut the umbilical cord. She's lying down right there in front of me. Both her eyes pop open. And I'm like, oh my goodness. With Micah, his eyes didn't come open for a couple of days. But this was like immediate. Her eyes just popped right open when I was holding her. And, the doctor said, well, you're the first thing she sees then. So that was, so that was the story of Elouise coming. What's that? Yeah, you were the first thing I saw. I was the first thing you saw. So I'm going to read a story. All right, and I'm going to give you your lines for this. This is a story from the Epic Adventures of Micah and Elouise called Daddy, When Are You Going to Die? Which is interesting because we've been listening to that song, right? From Shiloh Bear Music called Hope. And it's about someone singing about their parents dying. And the lyrics go, I hope I get to see you when I'm 25. I hope I get to see you when I'm 35. I hope I get to see you when I'm 45. And it goes up to, I might not get to see you when I'm 75 because someday we all have to die.
That's the real part.
That's not the real part?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the real part? Remember? Yeah. You don't remember? Yeah. But anyway, Eloise has been obsessed with this song. And I'm trying to normalize that, death is nothing to be afraid of. It's just an energy, it's just the energy transference. So I'm trying to normalize that with them. So anyway, this is a story called Daddy, When Are You Going to Die? I wrote a few entries about Micah last week. Today I'm reflecting on Elouise, on my conversations with Elouise. In 2025, when things are so polarized, I asked myself what kind of man I must be to raise a daughter in these times. Most men my age are raising teenagers, and their kids are now young adults. Elouise is 3, and I'm not far from 50. And today she is 4, and I am 50. I've been a stay-at-home dad for 5 years now. My generous parents live on the bottom floor of our new house. Mom and Graham go to work, so mommy and Graham go to work. Daddy and Pup are home taking care of the house and kids. Elouise comes with me when I take my father to his regular dialysis treatments. Elouise often observes how, in her words, mommies go to work and daddies stay at home. Boy, is that a blow to my ego. I do a lot of virtual meetings from home, so Elouise gets to witness my communications, how I work. But wow, what a shift our household is from what I was raised in as the traditional family. I get to be a presence in Elouise's life in her formative years. She tells me every day that she loves me and that I am the best daddy ever. We need to start telling each other we love each other every day again. Yeah. My understanding is that human beings need to be hugged many times a day. Before Elouise came into our lives, I was definitely in a hug deficit. But now she supplies an abundance of much needed embraces. Honestly, that keeps me going. I work primarily with women, and Elouise gets to watch me interact with very intelligent and articulate colleagues. So in addition to Laura, she has a wealth of outstanding female role models. Whenever I am in a meaningful conversation, Elouise is there. Yeah, especially the other day. Remember that? You tore down my screen. I was trying to have a conversation. When things are not as serious, she lightens up the mood, crawling all over me, making faces at the camera. Go ahead, you can make faces at the camera right now. There's a camera on you. You don't want to do this now? Or sometimes taking over my meetings for me. In my younger years, this would frustrate me beyond belief, as it comes across as unprofessional. But luckily, my colleagues are exceedingly generous and have been very attentive to Elouise. But she helps me keep things real. I can't hide who I am. I'm a struggling father whose ideas don't yet fit in with the world. But Elouise also helps me take things not so seriously. To be a parent in 2025 is to learn balance and the art of surrender. Sometimes Elouise asks me, Daddy, when are you going to die? Laura and I encourage honesty with both kids. What? Yeah, you did ask that though last year. With Micah, it is honesty about his syndrome. He has something called Copper-Cyrus syndrome. With Elouise, it is honesty about Laura and I needing help, more help to give birth to her. So yeah, I'm gonna refrain from details today on that. But with both kids, it is honesty about death, being nothing to fear, and is a natural part of life. I said, not sure, Elouise. I got started late on this whole father thing, but I will say this. Considering all the years of pain and struggle and debts mommy and I went through to get you both here, I'm going to stick around as long as I can to enjoy watching you both grow up. I never want you to go away, Elouise said. When you die, will your spirit stay with me forever? Eloise, I can guarantee it. Remember that spirit, like energy, cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes form. Graham and Pop taught me that when a mommy and a daddy love their kids unconditionally, something about that kid becomes unbreakable. You are loved so much and unconditionally. It's going to take more than a minor inconvenience like death to keep me away. But I'll save more on that for another time because Eloise is a force of nature. All right, I'm gonna close with one more story about Eloise here. Okay. Eloise, can you say, can I give you a line? Okay, so this is a line that Anna said in Frozen. It's like, that was epic. Do you remember saying that? That was epic. You don't want to say it right now? Okay, that's all right. You don't have to say it right now. And thank you for being patient. All right, so I'm looking for one more story today. You know what? I'm just gonna say this without the help of a script. So just a couple of weeks ago, Eloise asked me, Daddy, have I ever met my great, 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 it was about 21 different greats. Have I met my great grandmother? And I said, well, which one? She's like, what do you mean, which one? Well, if you go back 20 generations, you have precisely 1,048,576 grandmothers. And the same amount of grandfathers as well. You would need a time machine and clone yourself to have the time to meet all of those people. So what we did is that I said, did you know that every single one of those people, every single one of those grandmothers has a story? And we hope that most of them were love stories, not all of them. But one thing is for sure, that it was love that helped bring in a new person and helped love bring another new person in. You know, even though the stories might be different, it just depends on who the storyteller is. And I choose to believe that there is one soul, one spirit, but there are 8 billion different stories living in the world right now. So it just depends on what kind of story you want to tell yourself. And yeah, so that's so that is one of the things that I enjoy most is telling stories to my kids so that they can write their own story. And that's hopefully what my kids are learning as they grow and they watch mommy and me do the best we can. Do the best we can in some days which are not as easy as others. So I think I'll wind down my talk there and take questions, and then I have a meditation that will be in the spirit of that last story.